Hello everybody. Hello. I am here to answer three questions about real estate investing. So we have been emailing the amazing people on our VIP list. If you are not on our VIP list yet, please join. It's free. affordanything.com/VIP list. So three people from our VIP list have emailed us to ask us questions, and one of the things that we do for the people who are on our VIP list is we pick some of their questions. We can't get to all of them because of volume, but we pick some of their questions and I jump on IG and answer them live. By the way, hello to everybody who's joined. Hi, Water for Work. Hi, Itty Bit Better, Feather Marie One, the Cheesecake Boutique. That sounds delicious. So yes, hello, Marianne Hardy. Hello to everyone who's joining us. Hi. Hi, it's Nicole, not Nikki. All right, so let's get started. We're here to answer three questions about real estate, all of which came from people on our VIP list. And remember, you can join our VIP list for free, affordanything.com/VIP list. All right, let's get started. Question number one comes from Bradford. Woo! Question number one comes from Bradford, and he says, quote, I have a concern that not many people talk about. Good choice. Let's talk about it. I started in real estate by asking contractors to pull all the required permits, but surprisingly ran into a lot of contractors trying to talk me out of getting permits. It wasn't as difficult having contractors pull permits for large jobs, but many wanted to avoid them for small jobs. How do real estate investors navigate the types of issues where a plumber doesn't want to pull a permit to, for example, replace a shutoff valve, even if it's technically required? As some plumbers have told me it's required, while also telling me not to pull it. Whew! Okay, Bradford. First of all, thank you for your question. Second of all, wow. Not only have I never run into this problem, I and everyone I know anecdotally has always had the opposite problem, where contractors that I've dealt with and contractors that my friends have dealt with, they want to CYA, which is cover your, and then I won't say what the letter A stands for, but we all know, right? Everyone wants to CYA, and so everyone wants to pull the permit. So I've literally only ever dealt with the opposite situation, where the contractors are really, really insistent on getting permits. So the fact that if a contractor were to ever tell me, let's not pull a permit, like the only time that that's ever happened is when a permit's not required. You know, if a permit is genuinely not required in that municipality or in that county, cool, it's not required. But if it's required and the contractor's saying don't pull it, that is like, do I have a red scrap of fabric I can wave to indicate red flag? I do not. Imagine that this is red, and imagine it's a flag. It's a red flag. This is not a red flag. This is a book. But that's a red flag. So I would just stay away from those contractors. I mean, I've never even heard of that happening. And I can't imagine why it would, like, as I'm trying to think through any possible benefit that the contractor would receive by not pulling a permit, yeah, they're probably backed up with a bunch of work, and yeah, maybe they don't want to do administration and paperwork, especially at a time when they have more work than they can handle, and they just want to keep, there's a labor shortage. They want to, like, they've got a ton of work. They're busy, but still, they're liable if something happens. So it's, it's important. It's really, really important. And hello, there's a user named Wicked Awesome Tennis. Wicked Awesome Tennis asks, any advice on starting an LLC? So we have a whole email about this. If you sign up for the VIP list, we have an email with a video that we send out. It's like, I forget how long the video is, but it's a relatively long one, where we answer that question in depth. So head to the VIP list. It's free, affordanything.com/VIP list, and we send all of our subscribers a free video that answers that question. All right. So Bradford, that is my answer to your question, which is I have never heard of contractors doing that, and I would consider that to be a big red flag, and I would not work with any contractor that knowingly, would be aware that a permit is required and would not want to get one, and I would never work with any contractor that would actively encourage me to break the law. Like, that to me is a huge red flag. Okay, our next question, second out of 3, comes from James. James says, as a working nurse who is figuring out his career moves early on in my career, I have a lot going on. I'm switching jobs, I'm finding what's right for me. I've also started a podcast, congratulations, and I'm afraid of how much time it might take to work on my first rental property per week. Yeah, I get that. You have a lot going on. You're starting your career as a nurse, you've started a podcast, and you've got your first rental property. But then, James, this is really interesting. So then the question, when I read that introduction, I thought that the follow-up question was going to be, how do I manage my time, right? How do I manage my time, my energy, but instead, the question that you ask is, how much is realistic initial investment capital that I would need in my first year of this? In other words, how much should I prepare to have in liquid cash for the down payment, the mortgage loan, the renovations, hiring a team, etc.? Now, that to me is really interesting because as I read through your question, the intro to your question, like the introduction, the setup, and the question don't jive. The introduction, you're talking about managing your time and energy, and the question itself is about managing your money. And the only connection that I can make between the two is that maybe somewhere in your mind you're thinking, well, if I don't have the time to work on things myself, then I have to hire a team to work on things, so I'm going to be outsourcing a lot, so how much money will I need? Like, maybe, I'm speculating here, but maybe that's the connection that's happening in your head. If that is, then I have good news for you, which is in our course, in your first rental property, what we teach our students, and all of our alumni can verify this, what we teach all students, whether you're planning on doing the work or not, is we teach you to plan your budget as though you are hiring out everything. Why? Because math should always be identity agnostic. Math should be, for math to be math, it cannot depend on the identity of the individual who is doing a task. You cannot value your own time at 0 and somebody else's time at greater than 0 and make an apples to apples comparison between the two. And so you have to embrace a little bit of split personality, where when you are calculating the returns, you're calculating that from the perspective of a passive owner, an owner collecting residual income. And then for some people, if you choose to do some of the work yourself, which you might choose to or might not choose to, if you choose to, cool, worker you gets paid wages and owner you gets paid a return, but worker you and owner you are two totally different people. That's the split personality that you might embrace if you choose to do any of the work yourself. But you always run the numbers, you always run the spreadsheet as an owner, which means you always run the numbers as though you are outsourcing everything, right? So then that goes to your actual question, how much do you need? So how much you need for the down payment is going to depend on what kind of mortgage you're taking out. If you're house hacking and you're getting an FHA loan, then how much you'll need for the down payment could be as little as 3.5% if you're house hacking with an FHA loan. By contrast, if you're getting an investor loan, which you would typically get if you're investing out of state, long distance, then you might need between 25 to 30%. But if you're investing out of state, long distance, you're likely buying a much cheaper home, a home that might be $80,000 or $100,000. So the amount of money that you need for the down payment depends on the price point of the home that you're buying, the type of mortgage that you're getting. Is it primary loan, second home loan, or investor loan? It probably won't be a second home loan. So is it primary residence or investor loan? And is it a conventional loan or is it federally backed, right? Those are all factors that are going to play into how much you need for the down payment. Mortgage loan costs, again, if your loan has less than 20% down, then it's going to be the principal plus interest plus either PMI if it's a conventional loan, or MIP if it's a federally backed loan. So that's going to be the mortgage loan costs. The renovations, we have a spread in our course. We've got a spreadsheet that walks you through estimating your renovation costs, but that's going to depend on the age and the condition of the property at the time of purchase. And what you're going to do is you're going to walk through the property and you're going to look at all of the things that need to be repaired up front to get it rent ready for the first tenant. And that'll tell you what you need to get it rent ready for the first tenant. And beyond that, you're also going to estimate your Capex. And you estimate Capex by taking the spreadsheet that we give you in our course, and you're going to walk through the property, or have one of your contractors walk through the property if it's long distance, and you're going to notate the age of the roof, the age of the windows, the siding, all of the components, and how much lifespan each of those components have. And then how much each component is going to cost to replace. And based on that, you know that the roof is a 25-year roof, and it's probably got about 10 more years of life on it. And so 10 years from now, you're going to have to replace this roof. And replacing the roof based on its size is going to cost X amount per square foot if it's an asphalt shingle roof, right? And so then based on all of that, you then estimate, this is how much money I'm going to need 10 years from now to replace the roof. Therefore, this is how much I have to put aside each year for the next 10 years. So that's all the math. Like, it's all very spreadsheet based, and it's all very dependent on the type of home you buy, the age, the condition, the usable lifespan of every component, from the siding to the windows to the roof, right? That's why, that's how you calculate. You use the spreadsheets and the tools that we give you so that you can make those forward-facing financial projections. Exactly. Faux nefarious. You said it very well. By the way, I love that username, Faux Nefarious. Pretentious Coffee is here. Hi, Pretentious Coffee. Love your IG feed. If you want to look at really pretentious photos of beautiful cups of coffee, check out Pretentious Coffee. It's great. So that is my answer to James's question about how to figure out how much money you need for your first rental property purchase, as well as how to think about your time in the context of being the owner of a property versus being somebody who works on the property. Think about working on your business versus working in your business. All right. So the third question, the third of three questions that we're going to answer in this Instagram Live, comes from Casey. Now, Casey wrote a fairly long question. I won't read the entire thing, but to summarize it, Casey is hosting an au pair right now, and she and her husband, so basically they want to sponsor the au pair on an F1 visa after the au pair is no longer working for them. So after the au pair is no longer going to be an au pair, they want to sponsor this person on an F1 visa, and she and her husband are toying with the idea of buying a rental property near the local community college and allowing her to live in one room and then renting out the other two. And she notes that this is not purely a business thing. This has an emotional connection attached. So first of all, I love the idea. Essentially what you're asking about, and I often see this in families. I know someone in Boston who his mom needed a place to live. And so he bought a triplex, and his mom lives in one of the units, and he's renting out the other two units. And the income that he gets from renting out the other two units covers all of the costs associated with that property so that his mom can have a place to live, right? I know someone who's doing that with a triplex. And I also have had a few people who have called into the Afford Anything podcast who are doing something similar in order to send their children to college. So rather than pay for the cost of room and board, for the cost of dorms, which are very expensive, and those add to the cost of college, they will purchase a home in the college town, like near the college that their children are attending, and they'll buy a single family home. The kid lives in one bedroom with roommates, and the rent that they collect from the roommates helps cover the cost of the mortgage. So that's very similar to what you're suggesting. And I think that's a fantastic, fantastic idea. When you run the numbers, as you're analyzing a property, when you run the numbers, remember what I said earlier in this video about how math needs to be identity agnostic? When you're running the analysis on the purchase of the property itself, then run the analysis in an identity agnostic way. So analyze the property as though all three of those rooms are being rented out at fair market value, or if it's if you're renting out multiple bedrooms, run the analysis as though you're renting out each bedroom at fair market value. If it's a multi-unit property like a triplex or a duplex, run it as though each unit is being rented out. But regardless of whether you're renting it by the unit or by the bedroom, run the analysis in an identity agnostic way, as though you are renting it out to each anonymous individual at fair market value. By doing that, you can crunch the numbers and assess the viability of the property itself. And then once you've assessed the viability of the property itself, if you choose to forego some of the returns by virtue of having one person whom you love and whom you admire and you want to support, live in one of those units or one of those bedrooms, whether that's a friend or a family member, or in your case, an au pair, that's fantastic. You have chosen to forego some of the returns by virtue of giving that person a place to live, but you still have run the numbers such that if that person ever were to move out, you could replace that person with someone who's paying fair market value, and the numbers on the property don't change. So in that regard, you are not conflating your analysis of the property with the fact that one particular individual is going to be living in that property without paying rent or paying reduced rent for some limited period of time. You're not letting that conflate your analysis of the underlying property itself. So, those are my answers to the 3 questions that came from Bradford, James, and Casey, all of whom are on the VIP list. If you are not on our VIP list, please sign up. It's free, affordanything.com/VIP list. And thank you to Bradford, James, and Casey for asking those questions. And if you are on the VIP list, please feel free to write to us and somebody will get back to you with an answer to your question. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next Instagram Live. Thank you. Have a good night.